I want you all today to think about fear. I want to take you to a journey through the valleys of experiences, some peaks of self discovery, and this vast landscape of fear and excitement. Just think of fear. Think about it. There are thousands of fear out there. People have fear of close spaces, fear of getting fail in a subject, fear of speaking in front of your crush, maybe, fear of insects. There are thousands of fear out there, felt not just by us humans, but other species as well. It's kind of hardwired in our DNA. And it's not new to us humans. Early humans had a fear of not having enough food during winter months. With time, our fears have transformed. Now, in this modern world, global starvation is still a problem, but it's not a problem for the people who are above the poverty line. They can afford their bread and butter. But in this modern world, we also have this fear of maybe losing our social passwords, maybe losing our identity. Our fears have transformed. And then there are some moral fears. Moral fears, fear of law, fear of your parents, fear of God. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about the pyramidal fears, the fears that have kept us alive thus far. The fear that's born out of the ancestral need of survival. Fear's job is to keep us safe. It can save our life, but at the same moment, it can stop us from saving someone else's life. In the year 2013, there was a massive disaster that no one anticipated to an extent that no one could prepare for. The Kedarnath floods. Kedarnath is a temple that's located at 11,700 feet. It's high altitude, and beyond the temple, there are vast glaciers and lakes. After 4 days of continuous rainfall, a huge block of boulder fell on a lake, and that lake bursted out with a lot of water. All that water, when it came down towards the rivers, it carried people, it carried all sort of debris, everything that it came on its way, it carried it all. It only left a path of destruction and death. I remember it so clearly because I was there. I was extracting a team of 6 people who were there to visit the local villages to provide education in local schools. What was supposed to be a typical visit to villages, to the schools, turned out to be a horrible, a crazy evacuation. Now, we were in such a place where there were no roads. So there are trails that connect from one part to the other. Now, these trails, they would turn into roads, and these roads will take us to a safer place. Now, in that 4 days of horrible rainfall happening, and there's like avalanches of muds coming down, and every step that you're taking felt like, okay, this might be the day, this might be the moment where this entire mountain will collide and we'll all go down with it into the river. Now, walking through these mountains, crossing one hill to the other, me being the leader of the team, I had to be in front. We came to a point where we saw a bridge which was connecting one mountain to the other mountain, which was made on a creek. Now, that creek, it was not a creek anymore. It turned into a crazy, horrific river. And the water was almost touching the bridge bed. Me being the leader, I stepped in first. I looked back onto my team members, and I could tell they all, in their eyes, they had this fear that they might be facing their own death today, at this moment. I stepped in. I could feel the water on my ankle level. I gathered all the courage with my backpack, and I'm wet. I'm heavy. My backpack is heavy because of the water and everything. I bought all the courage, and I crossed the bridge. As soon as I crossed the bridge, I climbed a higher rock, left my backpack, and I knew it's time to go back and give courage to the entire team members. I walked back to the other side of the bridge. I gave hand and started making people cross. Now, as we were crossing, the water is getting, there is no moment of silence at this point of time. The cloud has not stopped giving that thunder. And it almost felt like every thunder was making this bridge shake. And the river almost bringing all the mud. So every step we were taking, it felt like you can't move your feet as quickly, as swiftly you can walk on this surface. Went back, bought few people. 7 or 8 of us crossed, and once I dropped this 8th person, I heard a scream. I looked back, the bridge was gone. I looked onto the left side, I could not see a body. There was no body, there were scatters of bridges left remaining with that horrific water flowing down the valley. At that moment, I really wanted to help and jump in and save this person, maybe look for them. But I froze. I could not feel my legs. It felt like my legs were glued to the rock I was standing on, and I just stood there. I looked back to my team members. They were in panic. There were people screaming, and they had no idea what's going on. People crying at that moment. When I was looking into their eyes, I saw another flash flood about to happen. It was almost like the water's going to come down and take us away, and this is going to become a big, vast river. I had to push them, and we managed to come onto the other side. As it came behind us, it all took away everything. We did survive that day. But that thing stayed with me for a long time. I could not sleep for a few days. And what fear will do to you is 4 things. It will either freeze you. All of a sudden, when your body, when you yourself get exposed to fear, you will either freeze, something that happened to me when I was at that moment. You will either flee the situation, you'll run away. You'll either fight or you'll faint. Of all these 4 situations, however, there are times when fear grows inside of you. When it's a seed and it becomes into a tree, it becomes an anxiety. And that's the exact same thing that happened with me. That fear of water was growing inside of me. It didn't let me sleep for days. It was living in my head rent-free and did not want to leave at all. I knew I had to do something about it. It was getting into my nerves. After a few years, I went onto the beach. Now, this is the other time when I'm getting exposed to the water body again, ocean, people having fun, and there's fun and laughter. Most of the times when people and families go to the beach, there's always a good vibe going on. Looking at that vibe, looking at the water, like, okay, today's the day I will reclaim my peace. And I was an okay swimmer. I could swim like 25, 50 meters, good stretch. Looking at the water, like, okay, I'm going to go in, see what's going to happen, make my peace with water. I went inside the ocean. The water was right now on my knees. Waves coming slow and steady. Another wave came in. Now it's up till my abdomen. And when the waves come, most of you must have experienced, you just jump and let the wave pass. I went further in. It was up till my neck level. I'm jumping and, just jumping, let the wave pass. Went further ahead. There came a time when this wave came. This wave came. I jumped. When I went down, I could not feel the sand. Though the sand was gone, and I was clueless. I was again in that panic. What's going to happen? I'm moving 4 limbs and felt like, okay, this is the end. The world's going to come to an end. And all that trauma, all that thing that was in my head, they were all alive. My partner was there, luckily, and she saw that face I possessed at that time, and she came to rescue. She came towards me. As soon as she came towards me, I held on to her just to survive, pushed her down just to breathe. It was a total possibility both of us would have been swept away by the waves. Just luck smiled at us. The other wave came, and with that, she was kicking like mad, and we came towards the shore. Now, that momentary relief was eclipsed by the fear that was growing. I did survive that day, but it still was growing in my head. That became a tree, and it was not ready to let me go. I knew I had to do something about it today. I had to make a promise to myself that I have to conquer this fear. I have to keep myself and my loved ones safe. Working in the outdoors, I want to be a professional and a competent outdoor educator. I cannot let water put me down. So I started on this journey, a journey that I'm going to share with you all. There are a few steps that I discovered while conquering my own fear. Now, whether you have a fear of anything, let's talk about. You have fear of failure. If you have fear of any ing, you have fear of any sort of fear that you possess, you can conquer these fear by these 4 steps. The first being, you have to do some thought work. You have to acknowledge what's the fear that you are holding on to, and why is that fear holding you down. Our brain, it produces most of our thoughts. And these thoughts, they result into feelings. Now, you have to explore your thoughts explore them and not let your body or your brain go into an autopilot mode. Now, autopilot mode is where you see something and you're like, okay, your brain already tell you that's dangerous, that should not be done. Now, that's our part of the brain that tells us, okay, we have to be safe. But if that safety is restricting you and not letting you explore the options that are out there, that might not be well. At that particular time, I told myself, okay, I am excited about water. I am excited about it. Now, your brain is a very smart thing. It will ask you how. How are you going to do this? And that's where you have to be consciously choosing your thoughts. Rather than it going on to the autopilot mode, you're going to tell them, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. So you are consciously choosing your thoughts or not letting your brain control you rather than you choosing your thoughts and controlling yourself and, the process as well. Once you have controlled your thoughts, the second thing is tiny steps. Overnight, you cannot move a mountain. That cannot happen. The big changes only come through small actions. What is that one thing around you that's going to get you exposed to the fear you have? What is it around you? It could be anything. What is the 1% that you can get closer towards it? I started by just doing swimming in the pools. That was my 1% getting towards the water. What is it in your case? Are you afraid of snakes? Just go to the zoo and have an eye-to-eye with a snake. Is it the fear of heights? Just climb maybe 10th floor, maybe next time 12th floor and see what's it like. You got to get exposed to it, just maybe tiny bit. The third thing I started doing was muscle memory. Now, people think about ing activities. I'll give you examples. Cycling, reading, swimming, listening. There are a lot of ing activities out there. These ing activities, you learn them, you will never forget them. All right, so if you know driving, you do it after 5, 10 years, you will not forget driving. You know cycling, you do it after years, you will not forget it. It's like you practice so often that it becomes your second nature. Your body has already adapted towards it. All right. So I started getting muscle memory involved, and I was like, okay, I have to do, constantly keep doing it. But all the practice that I was doing, all this confidence that I was slowly building to conquer this fear was all smashed this one day when on this another vacation. So now, by this time, till my third step, my fear is now excitement. I've already done the thought work. It's turned into excitement. And I took this journey and went to Maldives and booked a tour for myself, open water, people from international community out there. And me being the Indian, I was like, okay, I'm going to do well. I'm telling myself it's going to be all right. Thought work, tiny steps, everything done. He said, okay, your snorkels on, fins on, and jump inside the ocean. And we jumped in. And we jumped in doing things. And he was like, okay, there's a nurse shark coming in. Nurse sharks are not dangerous. They're very safe sharks. So nurse sharks came in, like he's going on the left. Started looking at the nurse sharks. And all of a sudden, again, everything failed. I was on my forelimbs like a dog, just moving it. All my panics coming through. And at this point of time, this guy, the guide, said, you are from India. I should have sent you with your life jacket on. Of all the things, this thing sting. But more than that, that fear at the background was growing more and more because I was not doing the last step, which is consistency. A simple act of doing something over and over and over and over again. The more you do it, the better you get with it. That's being consistent in it. Now, I made myself promises back in my engineering days as well. Whether it be those promises were, okay, I'm going to get in front of the class, do some public talks, present this, make this presentation. I had fear of DSP. We used to call it back then degree stopping paper. It's digital signal processing. The reason why I was failing was because I was not consistent. I was not giving time towards the subject that I had to conquer. If these 4 steps are followed, you will conquer the fear that you have. Now, not again, those are not the moral fears. The fear that are restricting you, that are not letting you achieve the true potential that you have. Now, There are people who would say that soldiers, they are not afraid of death. Sam Manekshaw once said that either you're not afraid of dying, you're lying, or you're a Gurkha. Gurkha is a community that's in northern part of India, Nepal, and the northern sector. Now, if you have a Gurkha friend, you ask him, are you afraid of dying? He'll say no. But he would be afraid of losing his weapon. He'll be afraid of not be able to swim, or he'll be afraid of his gharwali. There are fears that are felt by all humans. Only except maybe few insects which don't feel fear at all. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to implore you. I want to implore you all, as I implore myself, that get into those spaces that make you uncomfortable and nervous. Challenge yourself to confront your fears, confront them, and get into the ING activities. Get your muscle memory strong, because by constant practice, there's nothing your mind and body cannot achieve. Thank you.